Hello everyone, it's Sean from TaekwondoSean.com, and today we're covering board breaking. Check it out. All right, now before we begin, there's a couple of things we have to do. Don't forget to do the warm-up video. I'll post a link up ahead here, and then you guys can get stretched and warmed up so there's no injuries, okay? The second thing is we're gonna need a couple of props, a couple of tools to help us train. Object number one, something hard, and you're gonna use this to help train your fist. Object number two, something soft to help you train the inside of the fist. And then object number three, this is the optional one. You guys can get a re-breakable board. They're sold on Amazon and all martial arts stores. And the main thing is it's easy to break it and then put it back together so you can continue to train to do the technique properly. And it works for kicks, punches, and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's begin with strengthening. So before we even learn the board breaking technique, we have to learn how to strengthen our hand. So we want to hit the right spot, not the pinky, not the wrist, not the forearm, just this nice meaty part, the side of the palm. That's what you want to be striking with, okay? And then from here, we're going to take our hand, no forks, no spoons, only knives. And then to help strengthen and engage this big forearm muscle, you're going to bend just the fingertips. So from this knuckle right here, if you bend the whole thing, the structure doesn't hold up. You have to only bend the tips. And you're going to notice that this arm, if you can feel this muscle, it's relaxed. And then when you do this, it flexes the forearm muscle, so it gives a lot of strength to the hand knife. All right, so I have my wooden object here. I'll call it the makiwara because that's what they call it in karate. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a strong hand knife, and we're going to strike not straight dead on and not sideways, somewhere comfortably in the middle. For some people, it's going to be a little more like 45. Some people, it's going to be more like 75 to 80. But the main thing is, you want to make sure you find a nice sweet spot. Bring your hand up and press, up and press. You want to hit it and try to press into it a little bit so that the full force of the strike is going through the outside of the skin right here and strengthening this structure. 1, 2, 3. And then we practice it as many times as you need on this hand, and then also try to practice on this hand so that there's some sort of symmetry between your hands. You don't want one hand that's all calloused and destroyed and one hand is like beautiful. You want to make sure both hands are strong enough. So make sure you guys train both hands as well. Another thing you guys can do to make it a little bit easier, so maybe hitting something hard like this piece of wood is too much for you at the very beginning. I mean, it's been a little bit of time since I was a white belt, right? So maybe I don't have that same empathy or compassion. I can't feel what you feel. So what you could do is take your wooden object and wrap your belt around it. So there you go. Now you can take it and practice either like we were before, if it was too hard before, or if you were doing fine before, now you can strike it a little bit harder. Actually, now that I think about it, the makiwara is usually something hard, like wrapped around with straw or something a little bit on the softer side. So now we have the makiwara, all right? Now we come to the soft object. Now it could be anything. I wouldn't use the pillow because it might be too soft and you might strike through to whatever is below it, but something that has a little bit of give, but also will allow you to not hurt yourself, okay? So when you hit something soft and you hit it hard, you're strengthening now the inside. So the ligaments, the bones become a little bit compressed every time you hit. Now just like the wood there, but you can't hit it too hard because it's something really strong, stronger than your hand. And so hitting something soft that has a lot of give will help you with full power into it. And then what's going to happen is the inside of your hand is going to become stronger. Okay, so you need to practice both hard and soft. And make sure you practice both hands. And for this one, as long as it's safe enough, make sure you go full power if you can. All right, so next up we have the basic structure of the board break. So how we present our body, how we do the hand knife technique, and we're going to talk about the kinetic chain. So let's start with the base. You have to have a good base for anything you do, making a building, doing a proper technique in Taekwondo. So strong base means we're in our front stance, apkubi, and it can even be wider, it can even be longer. It all depends on your comfort level, and you want to turn your knees on the outside. We talked about this in the basics video. But we turn our knees to the outside when we do our stances. So here's my regular front stance, and if I turn my knees, grip the ground, I'm able to take more power out of the ground when I need it. Now from here, I'm going to use the opposite hand of the leg that's in front. So I like to board break with my right hand, so I need my left leg in front. And this allows me to twist and come down properly. So let's start level 1. I have my board here. It's all ready to go. I'm going to take my hand knife, bend the fingertips, feel my forearm is nice and strong, and then I bring my hand up above my head, and then I bring it back down, and I aim properly. I touch it. Now, I can't take my eyes off the target at this point, because then I lose all my calibration. So if I come up and I follow my hand, the body's really good at, as long as the eyes are still looking at it, I can bring my hand back to the exact same spot. But as soon as my eyes leave, I have to recalibrate again. So 1, up, and bring it down. 2, up, and bring it down. And then 3, I want to sit my body down, and what's going to happen is that my shoulder is going to follow, and then my elbow is going to follow, and then my hand knife is going to follow down as well. And so all of my body is going to come crashing down on this board, and when I go down into the ground reaction force is going to come up, and I'm going to use that energy in the hand knife. So it looks like this. Now the only way this happens is if I'm relaxed. So I'm not hard the whole time. I'm relaxed, but I'm still strengthening this one part. I'm isolatedly strengthening my hand knife. And then I go hard at the end. So in the side view, I'd have my front stance, the opposite hand. I have my board set up here. 1, 2, and pull down. And then I'd smack the board with the correct spot. Now, if I don't bend my knees enough, there's a chance that my arm will reach its maximum reach and hit my pinky. And if I get too far down, there's a chance I could hit my wrist. So you really have to find the area that works for you guys where you can hit this exact spot every single time. So now I've set up some support system here, and you can use a rebreakable board. Now the main thing is when you're setting up the rebreakable board on objects like this, you want it as close to the edge as possible, because from the physics point of view, when you have the two objects and you're going to be striking in the middle, the further the objects are from the center, the better. So the closer it is here, the worse it is. So you want just the edges, if you can, as much as possible. And then when you hit the center, most of your force is going to go through, which is what you want. And so again, we're going to set it up in our front stance. Make sure you're close enough to it. My arm's only this long, right? So I need to make sure that it's directly over the target. I'm going to bend my front knee. I'm going to make my hand knife. I'm going to practice 1, come back up, 2, and then I keep up, and I pull my body through the target. I'm going to slow-mo that. Sucker. So when you're doing your board breaking, remember you need to drop down. You need to feel like your arm is dropping quickly, your body's dropping, and you're transferring the power all the way through to this end. Because remember, in a carousel, when you're in the middle, it's not going that fast. But if you're on the outside, especially on a big carousel, they're going so fast. So same thing. Here's your center of gravity, and your arm should be fully extended when you break the board, and pulling it down so the force can be so fast. The force can be so fast. Now, all this training we're doing today, all the strengthening that you can use on strikes, kicks, anything like that, it's actually not necessary if Taekwondo is more of a physical education kind of endeavor for you. So if you're joining Taekwondo to get in shape, to do the patterns and stuff like that, then it's not necessary to train until you have the big fat knuckles, until your hands are calloused and you could just break through bricks like you see on Instagram and stuff like that. The main thing is, if you are doing Taekwondo for exercise, then it's not something you really need. A little bit would benefit you, because if you did have to throw it out in a self-defense situation, you don't want to hurt your fist at the same time as, the other person's face. So train your hand, train your strikes, train your kicks, train everything well, and make sure you hit something hard, something soft. You're training both ends of the spectrum, and then we'll see you guys in the demonstrations. Train hard, and we'll see you guys on the mats. Oh, and don't forget, every once in a while when you're doing this board breaking training, sometimes you gotta take a break. Sometimes you might get bored of this training. No, I don't think I'll put that in.